What if I told you the most powerful relationship you'll ever have in your life is not with another person, not with your parents, not with your partner, not even with your closest friend, it's with yourself. Most people don't realize this. They spend their entire lives chasing relationships, begging for attention, seeking approval, and fearing the one thing that could actually set them free, being alone. We live in a world terrified of silence. The moment things get quiet, people grab their phones. The moment they feel a gap, they run to fill it with noise, with company, with distraction. But here's the question you need to ask yourself. Why are you running from your own company? Why are you so afraid of sitting in a room alone with your thoughts? Because here's the truth. No one wants to admit. If you can't be at peace with yourself, you'll never be at peace with anyone else. If you can't enjoy your own company, you'll always chase people who don't value you. You'll tolerate situations that drain you, and you'll live your life searching for validation that will never be enough. But imagine this. Imagine being so strong within yourself that you don't need constant approval. Imagine walking into a room alone and not feeling incomplete, but powerful. Imagine choosing relationships because you want them, not because you need them. That's the power of solitude. That's the strength of loving your own company. Now here's the secret: solitude is not loneliness. Solitude is where your power is born. Solitude is where you discover who you truly are. Solitude is where you stop running from yourself and finally realize you've been carrying everything you need inside you all along. Loneliness and solitude often get confused, but they are not the same thing. Loneliness is a feeling of emptiness, of craving connection, of desperately seeking someone else to make you feel whole. Solitude, on the other hand, is not about emptiness. It's about fullness. It's about recognizing that you are already complete, that you can stand alone and still feel strong, grounded, and at peace. The world teaches us to run from solitude. We are conditioned to believe that if you're alone, something is wrong with you. People will look at someone eating dinner by themselves and whisper, "That poor person must be lonely." But what if that person isn't lonely at all? What if they're free from needing validation, free from performing for others, free from pretending to fit in where they don't belong? The fear of solitude is one of the greatest chains holding people back. Think about it. How many toxic friendships do people cling to? Not because they truly enjoy them, but because they're terrified of not having anyone around. How many relationships do people stay in long after love has died? Simply because the idea of sleeping in an empty bed feels unbearable. How many people say yes to invitations, hangouts, parties, or meaningless conversations, not because they want to, but because they're terrified of being seen as alone? That's not freedom. That's dependency disguised as connection. Loneliness pushes you to fill the void with anyone or anything. Solitude empowers you to choose carefully, to be selective, to value quality over quantity. Solitude is not about shutting the world out forever. It's about knowing you can walk away from the noise whenever you want and still feel whole. It's about saying, "I enjoy my own company. I don't need to escape myself." When you master that, you stop being desperate for others. You stop begging for attention, approval, or companionship just to feel worthy. Instead, you become someone who gives freely because you're not running on empty. You're full, and solitude is what fills you. But here's the truth that most people will never face. The reason solitude feels scary is because it forces you to confront yourself. It forces you to hear your thoughts without distractions. It forces you to sit with your regrets, your insecurities, your fears. Most people keep the TV on, the phone buzzing, or the music blasting because silence exposes what they've been avoiding. But you can't heal what you won't face. And solitude is the space where you finally begin to face it. When you embrace solitude, you begin to build an inner strength that no one can take from you. You stop being swayed by every opinion, every judgment, every rejection. If someone leaves, you don't crumble because you've already learned how to stand on your own. If a crowd doesn't approve of you, you don't shrink because your worth isn't tied to applause. Solitude teaches you resilience. It teaches you that even if the world falls silent, you still have yourself, and that is enough. Think of solitude like training in the dark. It's where you sharpen your mind, strengthen your spirit, and prepare yourself for the battles of life. When everyone else is distracting themselves, you're focused. When everyone else is scattering their energy in 1,000 directions, you're centered. Solitude is the forge where real confidence is built. Because if you can enjoy your own company, you no longer depend on anyone else to make you feel valuable. You already know your worth. And the paradox is this: once you truly love solitude, you actually become better in relationships. Why? Because you're no longer clinging to people out of fear. You're no longer draining them with your neediness or demanding they fill your insecurities. You enter relationships from a place of strength, not desperation. You don't need someone to complete you. You choose someone to complement you. That's what makes you magnetic. People sense when you're whole on your own. They sense when you're not afraid of walking away. That's the quiet confidence solitude gives you. Here's something powerful to think about. Some of the most successful, fulfilled, and impactful people in history valued solitude. They retreated to think, to create, to reset. They knew that solitude wasn't isolation, it was fuel. It was clarity. It was the place where ideas were born, where strategies were shaped, where visions became reality. And yet today, we've grown so uncomfortable with even 5 minutes of silence that we reach for our phones the second it appears. Imagine how much wisdom we miss, how many ideas go unheard, how much growth we delay, simply because we refuse to be still with ourselves. So here's the challenge. Instead of fearing solitude, start leaning into it. Sit alone at a cafe without reaching for your phone. Go for a walk without music in your ears. Spend an evening without external noise, just listening to your thoughts. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. It might even feel unbearable. But over time, you'll begin to notice something. You'll notice your thoughts becoming clearer, your energy becoming calmer, your confidence becoming stronger. You'll realize that being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. It means you're powerful enough not to need constant company. The real test of strength is not how well you perform in front of others. It's how well you handle yourself when no one's watching. Can you sit in solitude without fear? Can you find joy in your own presence? Can you be your own source of peace? That is the mark of true strength. Loneliness is a prison that makes you chase people who don't deserve you. Solitude is freedom that allows you to walk alone with pride. Loneliness makes you desperate. Solitude makes you powerful. The question is, which one are you choosing? Most people go through life never truly knowing who they are. They wear masks. They play roles. They become what others expect of them, what their parents want, what their friends accept, what society applauds. But deep down, under all the noise, under all the labels and expectations, there is a self that's waiting to be discovered. And the truth is, you will never meet that self until you learn to embrace silence. Silence is uncomfortable. The moment it arrives, people rush to escape it. They grab their phones, scroll endlessly, turn on the TV, play music, call someone, anything to avoid sitting quietly with their own thoughts. Because silence is like a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. Silence reflects back to you everything you've been avoiding, the doubts you've buried, the dreams you've ignored, the pain you haven't dealt with, the questions you've never dared to ask. And that's why silence is powerful. It forces you to confront what distraction hides. When you allow yourself to be still, when you stop running from the quiet, you start hearing your own voice again. Not the voice of your parents, not the voice of society, not the voice of critics or friends, but your own. That voice is soft at first, drowned out by years of noise, but if you sit long enough, if you choose to listen, it grows louder. It begins to guide you. It begins to reveal truths you didn't know you had within you. In silence, you discover your values. What truly matters to you, not what you've been told should matter. In silence, you discover your strengths. You begin to notice the things you're naturally good at, the qualities that make you unique, the passions that set your soul on fire. And yes, in silence, you also discover your weaknesses. You see the habits that hold you back, the fears that keep you small, the lies you tell yourself to feel safe. This is why most people avoid silence, because facing yourself can be brutal. But here's the paradox. Until you face yourself, you can never grow. Think about it. How many people spend years chasing careers they don't care about, relationships that don't fulfill them, lifestyles that don't reflect who they are, simply because they never took the time to ask, what do I really want? Who am I beyond the roles and expectations? These questions don't get answered in crowds. They don't get answered in constant noise. They get answered in solitude, when the only voice you hear is your own. When you practice silence, you begin to strip away the false identities you've collected over the years. You stop performing, you stop pretending, you start being. That's when you begin to notice how much of your life has been shaped by fear, by comparison, by the need for approval. And that realization, while painful, is liberating. Because once you see it, you can change it. You can choose differently. You can begin to live authentically. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. Answers to questions you didn't even realize you had. Answers that redirect your path, sharpen your vision, and bring you closer to your true self. And here's the thing, your true self is not found in other people's approval. It's not found in the applause of the crowd. It's found in the quiet moments where you learn to listen inward. Have you ever noticed how your best ideas often come when you're alone, when the noise has faded, when your mind is free to wander? That's no accident. Your brain needs stillness to process, to connect dots, to imagine. That's why some of the greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators in history valued solitude. They understood that if you never withdraw, if you never pause, you'll never hear the whispers of wisdom inside you. But let's be real. Silence is not always peaceful at first. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it brings up emotions you thought you'd buried. But this is part of the process. You can't heal what you refuse to face. You can't grow if you never acknowledge what's broken. Silence is the space where healing begins. It's where clarity emerges. It's where you stop running from yourself and start rebuilding yourself. And once you've spent time in silence, once you've faced yourself honestly, something shifts. You become grounded. You become less reactive. You stop being so easily swayed by opinions or pressured by trends. Why? Because you know who you are. You know what you stand for. You've anchored yourself in your own truth, and that makes you unshakable. Here's the reality. People who fear silence will always be controlled by the noise around them. They'll follow the crowd even if the crowd is going in the wrong direction. They'll accept jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and lives that don't reflect their true desires, because they've never taken the time to ask what they really want. Don't let that be you. Be the person who's willing to step back, to unplug, to sit in the stillness and listen. The world will always try to drown you in noise. There will always be another distraction, another notification, another voice telling you who you should be. But the most important voice you'll ever hear is your own. And the only way to hear it clearly is through silence. So give yourself that gift. Spend time alone. Put down the phone. Close the door. Take a walk without music. Sit quietly and let your thoughts come. At first, it will feel strange, but keep going, because in that silence, you will begin to meet yourself, the real you. And once you know that person, once you fall in love with that person, you'll never again be lost in the noise of the world. Self-discovery doesn't happen in chaos. It doesn't happen when you're surrounded by constant opinions. It happens in silence. And the more comfortable you become with silence, the more powerful you become. Because when you know yourself, truly know yourself, no one can tell you who you are. Confidence. Everyone wants it, but very few understand where it truly comes from. We've been sold this image that confidence is about being loud, about walking into a room and making sure everyone notices you, about posting the perfect picture online and collecting likes to feel validated. But none of that is real confidence. That's performance, that's approval seeking in disguise. Real confidence is quieter, deeper, and unshakable. And here's the secret: real confidence is born out of independence. It's created when you no longer rely on anyone else to feel whole. Think about it. If your self-worth rises and falls depending on whether someone texts you back, whether people invite you out, or whether the crowd claps for you, then you are not confident, you're dependent. You're allowing your emotions, your identity, your strength to be controlled by things outside of you. And the truth is, anything you can't walk away from owns you. If you can't be alone without feeling empty, then you've given your power away. Independence is the foundation of true confidence. It means you don't need constant approval to know your worth. You don't need a relationship to feel loved. You don't need a group to feel accepted. You don't need to be surrounded to feel important. When you love your own company, when you can stand alone, you're no longer desperate for others. You stop begging for scraps of validation. You stop chasing people who don't see your value. Instead, you choose, you decide who enters your life. You decide who stays and who goes. And that shift is powerful because suddenly you're not controlled by fear anymore. The fear of being rejected, the fear of being abandoned, the fear of being left out. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen someone who doesn't try too hard, doesn't beg for attention, but somehow commands respect the moment they walk into a room? That's not an accident. That's independence. That's a person who's comfortable in their own skin, who doesn't need to perform, who doesn't need to be surrounded, who doesn't need anyone else to confirm their worth. People are drawn to that energy because it's rare, it's magnetic, it's real, confidence, and it's built in solitude. Independence creates a shift in how you handle relationships. When you don't need someone to complete you, you stop tolerating disrespect. You stop forcing connections that drain you. You stop settling for less. You don't cling to people who mistreat you because you know you'll be okay on your own. That's the difference between desperation and strength. Desperation says, I can't lose you because I'll be nothing without you. Strength says, I choose you, but I don't need you to survive. And that independence doesn't just affect your relationships, it affects every area of your life. In your career, you stop chasing jobs that don't align with your values just for approval or security. In your personal growth, you stop copying others and start carving your own path. In your mindset, you stop being a prisoner of other people's opinions. Because when you are independent, you are free. Free to be yourself. Free to walk away. Free to stand tall even if you stand alone. But let's be clear, independence doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean you don't need people at all. It means you're not controlled by the fear of losing them. It means you enter every connection from a place of strength, not weakness. You can give love without expecting it to fill a hole inside you. You can be part of a team without losing your identity. You can accept praise without being addicted to it. That balance is what makes your confidence unshakable. Because no matter what happens on the outside, you're grounded on the inside. The problem with many people is that they place their confidence in unstable things: attention, status, beauty, popularity, relationships. And when those things shift, so does their sense of self. But when your confidence is built on independence, it's untouchable. People can reject you, and you'll still know your worth. Crowds can ignore you, and you'll still stand tall. Relationships can end, and you'll still be whole. Because your foundation is not out there, it's in here. Now here's the challenge. Independence requires courage. It requires you to face the fear of being alone. It requires you to stop chasing approval and start building your own. It requires you to walk away from situations where you are not respected, even if it means standing by yourself. That's not easy. But every time you choose independence, you strengthen your confidence. Every time you say, I can do this on my own, you're training your spirit to be unbreakable. Ask yourself, can you go to dinner alone and still feel at peace? Can you walk into a room without needing everyone's attention and still feel powerful? Can you make a decision without asking 10 people what they think first? If the answer is yes, you've tapped into independence, and that independence is shaping a confidence that no one can take from you. Real confidence is not built in crowds. It's built when no one is watching, when you're alone, when you prove to yourself that you can survive, thrive, and succeed without constant support. And here's the irony: once you master independence, once you love your own company, you actually attract healthier, stronger connections. Why? Because people sense that you don't need them, you want them. And when you want someone without needing them, the connection is built on choice, not desperation. That's where real love, real respect, and real partnership are born. Confidence that depends on others is fragile. Independence creates confidence that is unshakable. And when you carry that kind of confidence, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop settling. You become the kind of person who walks away from what no longer serves you, and that is the definition of strength. So understand this: if you want to build confidence, stop searching for it in the eyes of others. Stop waiting for someone to give it to you. It won't come from the crowd. It won't come from applause. It won't come from constant company. It will come from independence, from proving to yourself that you can stand alone and still be whole. And when you do, when you truly love your own company, you'll find that your confidence is no longer loud, no longer desperate. It's quiet, powerful, and unshakable. Creativity doesn't bloom in chaos. Vision doesn't reveal itself in the middle of endless noise. Yet most people spend their lives surrounded by constant distraction. Phones buzzing, conversations humming, television playing, social media scrolling. They wonder why they can't think clearly, why their ideas feel shallow, why their goals lack direction. The answer is simple: your mind cannot create if it never has silence. Solitude is the soil where creativity grows, and it's the quiet space where vision finally becomes clear. Think about the moments when you've had your best ideas. They didn't come while you were multitasking or trapped in endless chatter. They came in the shower, during a walk, while staring out of a window. Those small moments when your brain had the freedom to wander. That's the power of solitude. When you pull away from the noise, your thoughts stretch out. They expand. They connect in ways they never could when bombarded with constant input. Fast solitude unlocks creativity because it forces you to listen inward instead of outward. The world is always trying to tell you who to be, what to want, how to think. But the world can't give you your vision. That has to come from within you. And you can't hear that inner voice when you're drowned out by everyone else's noise. In solitude, you create a space where you finally hear yourself. And sometimes what you hear will shock you. Sometimes it will excite you. Sometimes it will scare you. But it will always be real. Many of history's greatest minds understood this. Writers, inventors, leaders, visionaries, they all valued solitude. They retreated into quiet, not because they hated people, but because they understood the mind needs stillness to produce brilliance. You don't write a masterpiece in the middle of a crowded room. You don't invent something world-changing while glued to your phone. You don't map out the life you want while surrounded by distractions that demand your attention every second. Greatness is born when you step away, when you dare to be alone long enough for your ideas to take root. But here's the challenge: most people avoid solitude because it feels unproductive. They mistake stillness for laziness, quiet for emptiness. Yet the truth is, some of the most productive work you will ever do will happen in solitude. It's in those quiet hours of reflection that clarity arrives. It's in those moments of stepping away that solutions reveal themselves. Sometimes the most powerful action you can take is to stop doing and start thinking, to let your mind rest so it can create. Solitude is also where you gain vision for your life. So many people drift aimlessly because they never take time to step back and ask, where am I going? What do I want my life to look like? Who do I want to become? Instead, they stay busy running from one task to another, copying what others are doing, following paths they never chose. Without solitude, they never pause long enough to see whether the life they're living is even theirs. Vision requires distance. Just like you can't see the shape of a painting when your nose is pressed against the canvas, you can't see the direction of your life when you're buried in constant activity. Solitude pulls you back. It gives you perspective. It allows you to look at your life with clarity and say, this is working, this is not, this is where I need to go. Without that perspective, you risk living your entire life on autopilot. And here's the truth. Solitude doesn't just spark creativity and vision, it protects them. The world is full of opinions, full of people who will project their fears onto you, full of distractions designed to pull you off course. If you share your vision too early, people will tear it apart. If you don't guard your creativity, it will be smothered by comparison. Solitude creates the sacred space where your ideas can grow strong before the world gets a chance to crush them. Imagine a seed planted in the ground. If you dig it up every day to show it to people, it will never grow. It needs time in the dark in the soil, protected from the outside world, before it can break through into the light. Your creativity is the same. Your vision is the same. Solitude is the soil where you plant them. Give them time. Let them take root. And when they're strong enough, they'll grow into something unshakable. But solitude is not automatic. You have to choose it. You have to make space for it in a world that constantly competes for your attention. That means turning off the noise. That means setting boundaries. That means daring to be the person who doesn't need to be on all the time. It means prioritizing your inner world over external distractions. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. But the more you practice solitude, the more you'll crave it, because you'll begin to see the difference it makes in your clarity, your creativity, your peace. Ask yourself, how many breakthroughs have I missed because I was too distracted to hear them? How many ideas slipped away because I never gave myself space to explore them? How much clearer would my life be if I spent less time listening to everyone else and more time listening to myself? These are hard questions, but they point to a powerful truth. You have brilliance within you, but it can only be unlocked in solitude. When you embrace solitude, you stop being just a consumer of noise and start becoming a creator of vision. You stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You stop following and start leading. And the vision you build in solitude becomes the compass that guides every choice, every step, every path you take. So don't fear solitude. Seek it, protect it, use it, because in that quiet space, you will find creativity you didn't know you had. You will discover visions for your life that will inspire you to rise higher. And once you've seen those visions, once you've tapped into that creative power, you'll never again settle for a life shaped by noise. You'll live a life designed by clarity. And that is the true power of solitude. Every single day, the world is fighting for your attention. People, situations, and even your own thoughts pull at your energy like 1,000 tiny hooks. Some are harmless, but many are draining, leaving you exhausted, restless, and unfocused. And yet, most people never stop to ask themselves, where is my energy going? Who am I giving my peace to? Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's survival. Building inner peace isn't a luxury, it's the foundation of a life that feels whole, steady, and unshakable. Think about how often you've walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained. It wasn't physical work that exhausted you, it was emotional weight. Maybe someone complained endlessly. Maybe they criticized you, maybe they poured negativity into you without even realizing it. Those moments matter, because energy is your most valuable currency. You can recover lost money, you can rebuild broken things, but once you give away your energy, you never get that exact moment back. Protecting it is not optional, it's essential. The truth is, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every insult, every provocation, every attempt to bait you into conflict. People who lack peace will always try to pull you into their storm. But when you learn to protect your energy, you stop being a victim of their chaos. You become the calm in the middle of it. That calm is where your strength lies. Protecting your energy begins with boundaries. Boundaries are not walls meant to keep people out. They're gates that guard what enters your life. Without them, anyone can walk into your mind, your emotions, your spirit, and leave their mess for you to clean up. With them, you choose who and what deserves access to you. You choose what conversations you engage in, what environments you allow yourself into, and what behaviors you refuse to tolerate. Boundaries are acts of self-respect, and without self-respect, you will always be at the mercy of other people's chaos. But building inner peace goes deeper than just saying no to negativity. Inner peace is created when you learn to manage the battlefield of your own mind. Most people are not destroyed by what others do. They're destroyed by what they tell themselves afterward. They replay insults, magnify mistakes, imagine the worst possible outcomes. Their mind becomes an echo chamber of fear and worry. Protecting your energy means silencing those inner battles. It means learning to control your thoughts instead of letting them control you. When your inner world is calm, your outer world cannot shake you. Someone can insult you, and instead of reacting, you smile because you know their words don't define you. A setback can occur, and instead of spiraling into panic, you breathe because you trust that you'll find another way. That's inner peace. It's not the absence of storms. It's the ability to stand steady in the middle of them. And that steadiness comes only when you choose solitude, reflection, and intentional living over distraction and chaos. Here's something most people don't realize. Peace is not found. It is built. It's built by the choices you make daily. Do you start your day by rushing into noise, or do you carve out a few minutes of quiet to center yourself? Do you let toxic people have endless access to you, or do you guard your time like the precious resource it is? Do you consume information all day that fools fear and comparison, or do you intentionally feed your mind with things that give you strength and clarity? Every choice you make either protects your peace or destroys it. Another powerful truth: protecting your energy often means disappointing people. Some will not like your boundaries. Some will not like that you say no. Some will call you distant, selfish, or cold. But you must understand this. Your job is not to keep everyone comfortable. Your job is to protect your spirit so you can live fully, with purpose. If you live to please everyone else, you will drain yourself until there is nothing left for you. If you live to protect your energy, you may upset a few people, but you will thrive. And in thriving, you'll have even more strength to give in meaningful ways. Protecting your energy also requires you to choose your battles wisely. Not every situation deserves your reaction. Not every fight deserves your time. The most powerful people are not the loudest. They are the ones who know when to stay silent. They conserve their energy for what matters. They don't waste it proving themselves to people who will never see their worth. They don't waste it defending themselves against lies. They don't waste it trying to convince people who are determined not to understand. They hold their peace because they know that peace is power. And here's the irony. When you master protecting your energy and building inner peace, you actually become more magnetic. People will notice your calm. They will notice your refusal to be rattled. They will notice the strength in your silence. You'll stop attracting chaos and start attracting respect. People may not always understand you, but they will sense something different about you, something rare, in a world addicted to noise and conflict. That difference is peace, and it will set you apart. So ask yourself today, what is draining me? Who or what is stealing my energy? Where am I giving away my peace for free? Then begin the hard but necessary work of pulling back. Reclaim your time, reclaim your focus, reclaim your stillness. Because the truth is, peace is not given, it is created. And once you create it, once you protect it, no one can take it from you without your permission. When you love your own company, when you embrace solitude, when you protect your energy and build inner peace, you stop being tossed around by the world. You become grounded, you become clear, you become strong. That strength is quiet, but it is unshakable, and it will carry you through every storm life throws your way. At the end of the day, everything we've explored comes down to one undeniable truth. You are your own foundation. The way you treat yourself, the way you value your own company, the way you guard your mind and spirit, this is what determines the life you build. Solitude is not a weakness. It is not loneliness. It is power. In that power, you discover who you are. In that power, you cultivate unshakable confidence. In that power, creativity blooms, vision unfolds, and peace becomes your armor. Most people spend their lives running from silence, terrified of being alone. But the ones who embrace it, the ones who learn to stand in solitude, become unstoppable. Because when you no longer fear being alone, you are free, free from chasing approval, free from needing validation, free from the noise that keeps everyone else distracted. And freedom is where true strength is born. So choose solitude, protect your energy, build your peace. Because when you learn to love your own company, you'll never again settle for relationships that drain you, environments that diminish you, or a life that doesn't align with your true vision. You'll walk with a quiet strength that speaks louder than any noise around you. And remember this, loneliness is what happens when you don't know yourself. But solitude is what happens when you finally do. Embrace it, because it is in that stillness that you rise. It is in that silence that you find your voice. And it is in that solitude that you become the strongest, most unshakable version of yourself. That is the true power of loving your own company. That is the gift of solitude.